We're live.
Carla, I think you can go ahead and get us started.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Gutierrez, and I'm honored to be the president of La Coalición de Latinos Unidos de Lake County, also known as Latino Coalition. I would like to welcome you all to the Waukegan Public School Board Candidate Forum. Thank you for being here. It is great to have you all join and hear more about the candidates. To our candidates, thank you for agreeing to participate and telling us more about what you each hope to offer. We look forward to a respectful and informative dialogue on a topic we know is of great importance to us all. I would like to especially take this opportunity to express my appreciation to our wonderful programming committee for organizing this event and volunteering their time and efforts to ensure we provide this to our community. I'm truly thankful for all of you and all of your contributions. I am now honored to introduce Andrea Flores, a member of our programming committee and a Waukegan Public Schools graduate who will be moderating today's event.
Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's forum hosted by Coalición Latinos Unidos de Lake County. My name is Andrea Flores, and I am a volunteer with the coalition and a proud Waukegan High School graduate. We are joined today by candidates running for the District 60 School Board. We would like to thank our candidates for being here today. As many of you know, these elections are crucial to maintaining civic participation. Before we begin, I want to thank people tuning in. Don't be afraid to ask questions on the Facebook Live event, as we will get to your questions at the end of the forum. Just wanted to share the setup for this event for full transparency. During the first part of the forum, candidates will introduce themselves and their platform. We ask that candidates not take longer than a minute to do so, and we will let you know when you have 10 seconds left to close out your thoughts. The second part of the forum will constitute questions gathered from the community that every candidate will have a chance to answer. As we near the end, we will ask candidates more specific questions, both from our community survey and the live audience on Facebook. So without further delay, we will begin the forum. Let's begin opposite alphabetical order if possible. So I believe the first person will be Dr. Harleen Shipley. If you do not mind turning on your camera and your microphone, and I will go ahead and set the timer, and I will hold up this card when you have 10 seconds left. I'm not sure, it might be different for people. It looks opposite to me, but this will mean that you have 10 seconds left on the clock. So I will go ahead and time it, but before that, let me go ahead and ask the question. And this is the question that is for everyone. You just happen to be the first person to answer it. So in recent years, we have seen a wave of newcomers moving into the area, both people looking to leave the city and others who recently arrived to the country. With Waukegan's newcomer population growing, what is your plan to help these new students acclimate into our district and community?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. With any student who enters the school district, you have to do some type of assessment to see what their skill sets are. As it relates to our Hispanic and Latinx population, we need to look at language proficiency. We need to look exactly where they are. We have to see if they've been newcomers. Have they had any formal schooling coming here from their original country? So we have to take all of that into effect, and then we have to place them in the best programming to meet them where they are. Okay, understanding that doesn't mean that we're not rigorous. We need to see if they have special needs. We need to see if in fact they are gifted, because I believe that you can be gifted and not speak English. So one thing that I have wanted to do in the district is to expand the gifted program to include those people who come and they're not language proficient. So the biggest thing is that you have to do an assessment. You have to make sure that the students are placed appropriate to their needs as well as their grade levels. Obviously, if you're a newcomer and you're 13, you're not going to start in the elementary building. So we have to have a complete spectrum of programs, pre-K through 12, to meet those students who are coming into our country and who are registering in our schools.
Thank you so much. And sorry, I think I got ahead of myself. If it's possible for everyone just to turn on their camera and say hello. Thank you for being the person to respond. Figuring it out as we go. You know, technical difficulties with all of COVID going on. I hope people at home can understand. But just if you can just turn on your camera, you don't have to go off mute. Just stay on mute and just, you know, say hello. Yes, you're right. I went straight into the questions. I apologize. That might have thrown people off. I realize now. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. But yeah, I guess, sorry, I'm in alphabetical order. Please, Harleen, tell me your platform first and introduce yourself.
I was going to introduce myself.
I apologize.
Maybe we're switching the program.
No. That was a mistake on my part. Okay. I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, we're testing everyone.
I'm a former teacher, so I know how to, kind of go there on my feet. Okay. My name is Harleen Ricks Shipley, and I'm born and raised in Waukegan, Illinois. I'm a graduate of Waukegan High School as well. I was a teacher, assistant principal, central office administrator, and I'm running for the school board because I would like to see increased opportunities for education for all students, as well as recycling our tax dollars into Waukegan and Lake County. I think that's vital to grow our city and to get people to embrace our city, come back to our city, to work in our city. And I also want to see our parents have not only increased parent involvement, but we look at them as actual partners in the educational process. And I call that embracing our parents as opposed to just including them in additional activities. Okay, I know that's less than a minute, but thank you. That's why I'm running for board.
That's perfect. And I appreciate you and everyone. No, nothing to be sorry for. We all get ahead of ourselves sometimes. I'm talking about myself. But all right. And I guess the next person, alphabetical order speaking, Dawn Johnson, do you mind turning on your mic and giving a quick introduction, your platform, minute long, if possible?
Hi, I'm Dawn Johnson. I'm a resident of Waukegan for the last 20 plus years. I raised my children here and I'm a grandmother now. So I just wanted to be more involved, and I think it's time that the community all come together. Waukegan is like a melting pot. So many people, so much talent. So my concern is I would like to see more resource before and after school programs, and I would also like to see some support with the resource and programs within the classroom so that the teachers can be able to help the students and the students can get the services that they need as we work together. So that's why I'm running. I want the community to be more involved, more welcome, and more engaged. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Next person, Ms. Hannah. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Okay. Hello. Thank you for having me and holding this very important forum. My name is Anita Hannah. I am a lifelong resident. I am a Waukegan high school graduate. I have all of my children graduated Waukegan. I have granddaughters now in Waukegan School District, a junior, a freshman, and a fifth grader. And I am rerunning for the school board because I would like to continue the work that I have been doing on the school board, but more importantly, as of late, through research, I asked the question, why our children can't read? And I am going to be pushing for phonics to be put back into our elementary school so that we can get our children up to reading on grade level. I am not a proponent of the growth method because that never gets our children where they need to be. And I am also wanting to continue to be a steward over the taxpayers' money that comes into the district, and to just continue to work together with the community, with the teachers, the staff, so that we can make our schools the best that they can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Adriana, do you mind going ahead?
Hi, thank you for the coalition for letting us use this platform to inform people about the school board elections. I'm Adriana Gonzalez. This is my first time vying for any elected position. I'm 24 years old, born and raised in Waukegan, or born in Condo in Libertyville and raised in Waukegan all my life. Graduated in 2014 and went to Pomona College and graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's in public policy analysis and Latin American studies. And I really wanted to come back to contribute to the community that we have here in Waukegan, because I wanted to see where I could sort of implement all of the things that I learned in college about policy and sort of get in the practice of it. And I feel like for me, I want our schools to be better educational institutions for all students. And I believe that the school board is a position in which I could use my skill set to contribute and sort of build inclusive experiences for all students.
Thank you so much, Adriana. Brandon, do you mind going next?
Thank you. Again, thank you for the invitation. Appreciate the platform and the opportunity. 4 years ago, I was encouraged to run for school board, and with the help of the community, I was fortunate enough to win election to a 4-year term. As the parent of a WPS 60 student, I have a vested interest in our school's success. As someone who attended and graduated from Waukegan Public Schools, I know firsthand the good and the bad about our schools. Over the last 4 years, I've worked to make a difference in the lives of children and improve Waukegan Public Schools for all. I've worked to help build a deeper relationship between the district and the community that it served, and I've spearheaded efforts to further improve our school buildings and facilities. I've worked with the board to make sure our students have the academic foundation needed to be successful. As a district and as a community, we have so much we can be proud of. There have been many achievements to celebrate over the last 4 years, but we all know that there's so much work that still needs to be done. And so I'm running for re-election because I want to continue that work. And I want the opportunity tonight to be able to answer questions and interact with the community and hopefully earn their support.
Thank you so much. And next up is Edgar Castellanos.
Hello, thank you. Thank you to the coalition for this opportunity. Hola familias que están mirando, yo soy Edgar Castellanos, su miembro de la Junta Educativa del Distrito 60. I am your current board member of Waukegan District 60, and one of the reasons that I got involved in the district is that my 5th grader at Oakdale, when I started attending PTO meetings, I noticed that there was something wrong with the curriculum, and it wasn't consistent and it wasn't clear. And that work has begun. That work is currently ongoing in the district, and there's a lot more work to do. So I want to continue to serve the district and continue that work. I want to continue to advocate for families who feel that they don't have a voice in the district, create that unity. And to the families watching at home, I hope that you stay here the entire meeting tonight and get to interact with us and ask questions, because this is an important election. This is an important job, a voluntary job that is meaningful, and this is work that impacts you and every one of the students here in the district. So thank you for your time. It is an honor to be here tonight. And yeah, let's get started.
Okay, thank you so much. Oscar Arroyo, do you mind going up? Oh, we can't hear you. I still think we're
Oscar,
having
you have to
trouble.
three-way call me, Oscar, and I'll merge you in, man.
Or
Okay,
Oscar.
can you?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Is this Oscar?
Yeah.
Are you the phone number?
Yes, it's me. Yes, I don't
Okay,
know.
okay.
I kind of tried to, and it made me go. So I guess I don't know how to unmute it. So sorry.
Okay.
So my name is Oscar Arroyo Jr., and I'm running for school board here in this beautiful town of Waukegan that I was born in. And I'm just trying to give back to the community because I know there's a lot of students here that want to know, they want to be involved in the community, and they don't have that avenues, or there's not an outreach to give out. And that's the reason why I'm running. I'm just trying to give back to where I wasn't helped out as much when I graduated here in Waukegan and attended school here in Waukegan.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much, and thank you for understanding the switch up. So without further ado, we will actually get into the questions. So Dr. Chipley, you went in and answered our first question, and I'll go ahead and repeat it. I'll actually give you a second, opportunity to answer it if you want to answer it again. If not, that is totally fine, but thank you for being our first volunteer. But I'll go ahead and ask that question again so the audience at home can listen in. So in recent years, we have seen a wave of newcomers into the area, both people looking to leave the city and others who recently arrived in the country. With Waukegan's newcomer population growing, what is your plan to help these new students acclimate into our district and community? Dr. Harleen Shipley, do you want to go ahead and answer? I can give you a minute, or you can go ahead and pass it on to the next person. You're also on mute. Okay.
I don't think it's fair that I answer again. Hopefully there were enough people who were on that heard my answer, but I just don't think that's fair. But thank you for asking. And you can call on the next person. And like I said, I hope enough people are on to hear what I had to say.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so again, going from bottom up, and then maybe we'll switch it around. We can go to Don Johnson. And you're on mute right now, but if you don't mind unmuting yourself.
All right, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, so in the recent years, we have had a new wave of newcomers coming into the area, both people looking to leave the city and people coming from different countries. So with Waukegan's newcomer population, what is your plan to help these students acclimate into our district and community?
Well, what I would like to first do is make sure that the community feel comfortable and they have a strong bond of communication and build a relationship with the district. I think when the community builds a relationship and a bond, they can be able to understand the policies and understand the needs of the school as well as the child. So the first thing that I think that should happen is that they build a relationship, get to know the school and what the needs is of the child, and make sure that that child is given the services that they need. If it's to be evaluated, if it's to be in the right school with the right policies, the parents have the support that they need. That is the best way to build a strong board and build a strong community, is to make sure that we build a relationship and a trust bond so that we all feel comfortable with one another to build that child to be the best they can be.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for keeping that to a minute. So we will go next to Ms. Anita Hanna.
Okay. Well, the newcomer program has been around for some time here in the district. There may need to be tweaks and so forth, but making sure that assessments are done for the students that are coming into the district, and just knowing exactly what proficiencies they have, what proficiencies they don't have, and then placing them in the appropriate programs that are in the district The bilingual program has many aspects in our district, and making sure as well that parents are supported as they attempt to bring in their students, and making sure that they know what's available to their students and what's available to them as well. And just making sure that everything is in place, and so that they could be successful in their education here in Waukegan schools.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. Adriana, do you want me to repeat the question, or do you have it? Okay.
I got it. I think something that I think a lot about, besides, making sure that the students are tested for their capacity, right? And their proficiency, is understanding that, like other candidates have already said, that we need a strong family engagement support system. And I know that work is already being done at different levels. We have a BPAC. I know Angela Ramirez works with the BPAC to help bilingual families. And I think more than that, there's other members of the community that have been interested in hosting workshops to sort of walk these families through not only within the schools and what their students might need in the classroom, but also understanding how the school board works and how they could advocate for their students. Creating a pathway for those programs to come to fruition is something that I would like to see, and that I think frankly needs more support, because I think there's people who want to do that work, but get burnt out doing it, or taking on multiple jobs, and need more capacity to be built around it. And I think also making sure that when we're outreaching, or that when we're practicing the outreach, that we're partnering. Sometimes there's other external organizations in the community that have more buy-in from these specific families, and sharing the load would be more of an effective way of reaching those people.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Brandon, you are next. Would you like me to repeat the question, or?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think parental involvement was a big one. Assessment is another one. But I think, and this is something that I've heard from other candidates, and where my thinking is on the issue, is we have to embrace and support those parents. But also we want to be making sure that we are using culturally relevant teaching methods, right? And so if we look at our Latinx community or population, right, we want to identify where those individuals are coming from. Because we realize that the Latinx community is very diverse, and depending on their country of origin, there may be differences in how our educational system is perceived and how we interact with those parents. We also have a large percentage of South Asian students, right? So I think we need to embrace culturally competent instruction, while also making sure that when our families go to our welcome center, which is kind of the first point of interaction, that the individuals there understand what resources exist in our community, and make sure that parents, why are the parents coming here? As we're talking about people from other countries, but we have a lot of individuals that move from within our own local area. So what supports exist? Why are the families there? And how can we support all students?
Thank you so much. Edgar, you are next. Would you like me to repeat the question, or do you got it?
No, I have it. Thank you. So this election has made me think back a lot to when I was first enrolled in district. My family came here in the 90s from Mexico, and I remember my mom, how she felt enrolling me and my older brother in the district, and how nervous she was, right? Her and my dad. So there's a human element to a component to bringing in these new families and making sure they get situated properly. In addition to the assessment, right? There's that support group that needs to exist. I think that we're in a better spot than my parents were in, but there is a lot more work to do. So definitely improving on that human element, and those groups that can help families coming into the district feel better and put them in the best position possible in this district to succeed.
Thank you so much. Oscar, do you want me to repeat the question or are you good to go?
I'm good to go.
Okay.
Thanks. For me, I know there's a lot of people coming from different countries from around the world with different languages. And I believe for me, it would be great to have somebody not that also just speaks Spanish, but other different languages, because obviously I see we do have a different cultures coming into our community. And sometimes it's hard for us to get somebody else that doesn't speak, say, example, Spanish, because Spanish is dominated, but there's also a lot of other languages that other people speak that's just not Spanish. So it would be nice if the school can hire somebody that will have different languages, like, say, example, like German, Russian, or any other language, so we can help the students mold, so we could get them so they could learn. And because I know it's hard, like for me, I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to go through that. And I know, like, say, example, even when I was little, there's a lot of parents didn't speak English and studying Spanish, and the teacher didn't speak Spanish. So for me, it was kind of, I guess, difficult for a child to translate a lot of things to their parents. So for me, that's what I agree.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for responding to that question. We'll go ahead and go with the next question. So, advocates in the community have been pushing for better language programs that help our limited English speaking students strengthen their language skills while ensuring that they are academically challenged at the level that they are at. There have been testimonies regarding several student bilingual programs not having access to grade level courses due to the lack of resources and capacity to provide the education. How will you assess that these programs are being effective in supporting the development of the students? So we will go in the same order. Dr. Shipley, do you want to go ahead and get us going?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's key, the way the question is stated, that you have actual testimonies that are citing the problems that exist. Sometimes as educators, and sometimes being in the role that we're in, we minimize those. And it shouldn't be that way, because actually those students are going through it. So as we're assessing the programming, of course we should be tweaking, but as I see the bilingual program now, they have a great foundation, but it needs to be expanded. Okay, 80% of the district is either Hispanic or Latinx, depending on how they identify. And with that comes a different level of competency, right? We all know that when you're learning a different language, when you're learning different skills, as you go through, your comprehension may not be the same as your implementation of your skills, right? So you've got to expand what we have from every level of the students. And you see that once again through their schoolwork, their testing, their state assessments. You see them, there are tests that are specifically relevant to the bilingual program. You have students who are not in bilingual education, but still need that TPI, that instruction and their support in their native language. And you're absolutely right. There are more languages. The last count was, I think District 60 had over 108 languages. So if you're looking at the total spectrum, you're going to make sure that you're supporting all of those students and the language they speak. And if they found themselves to be language proficient, that doesn't mean that they're not still struggling with the comprehension aspects and whatever. So they still need that support in general education as they're transitioning.
Thank you so much. Okay, Don Johnson?
Well, everything was said, and you answered the question with the answer. I'm glad that parents' voices are being heard, because that's one thing that is very important, is to be able to listen to the parents and be transparent. I do believe that all students should receive the services that they need. If it's with language barrier, if it's within their education, to improve low test scores, or to give them the services from programs to resource, that's when you start building relationships through the community. So there may be some families or some support that's throughout the community that can come in and support the family, so we can make sure that everyone is making sure that they're receiving the service that they need so they can improve and enlarge their education so they can be successful with whatever services that they need, especially within the large population of Hispanic or even if there's a small number of Asian or African American, everyone should be able to get that service right in the education placement. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
you were next. Would you like me to
First,
repeat the question or?
no.
Go ahead.
First,
Okay.
I am very proud to have been on the front end of the development of the bilingual program in Waukegan School District. And it was just beginning then, and I have watched it expand to where it is now. And we are seeing that it needs more resources need to be put into the program because of, as others have stated, the numbers of Spanish dialects that are in the school district. And so just making sure that the Board of Education allocates the resources for the program and making sure that the right people are involved in the program to give the students what they need in terms of comprehension, because I'm like what Dr. Shipley says, you can be proficient in talking, but in terms of comprehension, knowing how to put a sentence together, knowing how to conversate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Adriana, you are next. Would you like me to repeat the question or are you good?
Why don't you repeat it so I make sure that I'm answering everything?
Yes. So the question is, advocates in the community have been pushing for better language programs that help our limited English speaking students strengthen their language skills while ensuring that they are academically challenged at the level that they are at. Yeah. There have been testimonies shared regarding several students' bilingual programs not having access to grade level courses due to lack of resources and capacity to provide the education. How will you assess that these programs are being effective and supporting the development of students?
Okay, so I want to say three things, main three things. So we need to be specific about the students that we're talking about. Even though our district is majority Latino, we're looking at 39% of students in the district as of 2020 statistics that we're talking about being English learners. And that 5-year trend has been increasing. So we need development in that area. And the second thing I want to say is, and I think we've all sort of heard this, right, is that when our community talks about which resources are allocated to which programs, it's really hard sometimes to hear that, you know, people think that resources are being taken away from other groups to sort of put in this bucket, when really all of our community can be viewing this as an asset, specifically for these students who are just entering, you know, our area and need the resources to better learn the language. And then I guess I'll say 4 things. In order to ensure that the classes are rigorous, I think it's no question that there also needs to be honors courses for those students, because you may be smart in Spanish and just not, you know, not have the ability to show that, right? Math is universal. We need those students to be in those classes. And then the last thing I'll say is that overall, I feel like our culture needs to change in viewing knowing a second language or multiple languages as an asset. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Brandon, would you like me to repeat the question or you got it?
Oh, repeat it. I kind of know what I want to say, but I want to make sure.
Yes, of course. I want to be transparent as possible. So advocates in the community have been pushing for better language programs that help our limited English speaking students strengthen their language skills while ensuring that they are academically challenged at the level that they are at. There have been testimonies shared regarding several student bilingual programs not having access to grade level courses due to lack of resources, capacity to provide education. How will you assess that these programs are being effective and supporting the development of students?
Yeah, I think one of the things we were introduced to last night at our student achievement meeting, and that is curriculum mapping, right? And so what we want to do is make sure that what is being taught in our bilingual program is consistent with what's being taught in our monolingual program. So that's the first thing. I hear that all the time, is parents who want there to be the rigor in the bilingual programs. I want my students to learn English, right? I want my child to learn English, but I also don't want them to fall behind in math or science or those other STEM classes. And so one of the ways that we've done this is by recruiting more bilingual teachers in general, right? And we're doing that 3 ways. There's the controversy about recruitment from Spain. We also went to Puerto Rico in order to recruit from the island. And we're currently in the process of establishing a relationship with the country of Mexico in order to allow educators to come here and educate, because we understand, as we said, that math is universal. But in addition to that, we want to enhance our Grow Your Own program so that our bilingual residents actually go into the field of teaching. We also provided English language tutors in our monolingual classroom for parents who do opt out of the program. But overall, we're currently doing that work with curriculum mapping so that our bilingual program mirrors what's also happening in our monolingual classrooms.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Up next is Edgar.
Thank you. Mr. Ewing said it very well. Yesterday's board meeting, we talked about curriculum mapping. And if anyone tuned in yesterday, you can see how well this is being planned out. Mr. Cesario, at yesterday's meeting, one of the things he said is that a substitute teacher can come into the classroom out of the blue, right, at any given day, and just pick up where the teacher left off. That's huge. That lets us know that whether it's a day, a week, our students are not missing out on any curriculum. Another thing that we can do to help improve that is test taking for ELO students to assess, right? Determine the goal that a teacher has and make sure that these testings are assessing the students and making sure that we are not failing them on certain areas and just adjust whatever we're teaching in the classroom.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Oscar, would you like me to repeat the question or are you good?
Just go ahead and repeat it for hearsay sake.
Okay.
Please.
So advocates in the community have been pushing for better language programs that help our limited English speaking students strengthen their language skills while ensuring that they are academically challenged at the level that they are at. There have been testimonies shared regarding several students in the bilingual programs not having access to grade level courses due to lack of resources and capacity to provide the education. How will you assess that these programs are being effective and supporting the development of students?
All right, with that, it's one kind of answering the first question I answered, where we should get teachers or a staff member that is dual language so they could teach the kids in their language and transfer it over so they can also learn it in English. So the curriculums, so it could be in both languages. So it'd be like, I know one of the board members said that the same thing that's in Spanish be the same thing in English. So, and I know yesterday with the meeting they had, where they said that anybody can pick it up if it's a substitute teacher. That's what they're trying to work with the forums. And let's see. So I know it's hard for the students, but we still got to teach everybody the same exact thing. It doesn't matter if they speak in a different language. We still got to teach them. It might take a little bit longer, but we're still there. And we also have to have after school tutors that can help them out in their native language and help them out translate it into English so they can learn and be comfortable in speaking and learning English. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, thank you all for answering that. And we will go ahead with the next question. Same order. According to our state report card, Waukegan Public School District 60 has 7.3% Hispanic teachers and 5.5% African American teachers and 73.6% white teachers. What are your plans to make this equitable to represent or reflect our student body? Or should it even matter who teaches our students? And this question definitely hits home to me because I had very, very few Black teachers. I had very few Latina teachers, Latinx teachers. So as a student, a former student of the Waukegan Public School District, I think that this is something that we are all highly aware of. So I would love to hear what people have to say about that, and if there's anything, if it matters who teaches our students, or what is being done to make sure that it's reflective of the student population. So Dr. Harleen Shipley, if you can go first, that would be great.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of answer on the back end. Okay, you gave your statistics, you're absolutely right as it relates to teachers. But November 2020, one of the board members made the comment that many of the Hispanic and Latinx students over at the high school are feeling displaced. They don't feel as if that there's anyone there to relate to them. So I did a FOIA. I only have a minute for this? Okay, so I did a FOIA. And out of Brookside campus, it's 154 teachers, only 9 identified as Hispanic in general education. Out of Washington, 135, only 2 identified as Hispanic in general education. So this is kind of what we talk about when we're talking about Black students. Of course, if you have the mindset that all students can learn, that all students deserve to learn, it doesn't matter who you are and what you look like. But we also know that students want to see someone who looks like them in every walk of life. You know, when you go to the post office, you notice that someone looks like you, okay? So I think that as a district, we have to be conscious of that, and we can't be afraid to say that the students are looking for models. The students are looking for someone who looks like them, they can relate to, they can bond with, they can be a mentor. Of course, it could be anyone. It could be the person who looks the furthest from you, but it doesn't hurt to have people who are of like-minded, of like experience, of like situations that come in contact with you and help you along your path as it relates to education. There's nothing wrong with that. So there should be a great mix. Of course, the district should try very hard in the Office of Human Resources to adopt that philosophy and to move that agenda forward.
Thank you so much for your response. So we will go again towards the next person, Don Johnson. Do you want me to repeat the question, or do you?
I'm okay. Yes,
okay,
I do think it is important because so many times we reflect what we see. I remember growing up and I wanted to be a social worker because the social worker that I had, she was so kind. And I really think that a lot of times students reflect what they see. If they see a great basketball player, that's why I think they want to be a great basketball player, or even a doctor or a lawyer. So when you say to have a reflection of the community look like them in the schools, I think that's the great place where it should start. If you have someone in the schools that child can reflect and say, I'm gonna be a school teacher because this school teacher looks like me, this school teacher kind of helps me. We just had it go on right now with our new vice president. I do think that even within the culture of whomever you may be, it does stand out that means a lot when a child can see that person and say, that's me. I can be a school teacher, I can be a president, I can be a mayor. So yes, I think it's very important that the schools do reflect the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your response. I really like what you said, we reflect what we see. That was a powerful quote. Okay, up next is Ms. Hannah. If you could please, would you like me to repeat the question or do you have it?
No, I have it.
Thank you.
Okay, first off, I'm an advocate for the Grow Your Own program, okay? I just remember when I was back in school, we used to have the Future Teachers Club. We used to have the Future Nurses Club. And that encouraged students to get involved and want to become teachers we are now in this trend where everybody is talking about teacher shortages, right? Well, we need to do what we can on the local level to encourage students to go into education so that we don't have to worry about the disproportionate numbers, okay, that we're seeing right now. And also on a higher level, I want legislation to come about that raises the salary levels of teachers, because when they first come in, they're not making a lot of money, which that encourages them or deters them from staying into teaching and going elsewhere in another district. Okay, we've lost so many teachers to neighboring districts, and so we just need to find a way to encourage, first off, our students to go into education.
Thank you so much. So up next is Adriana. Would you like me to repeat the question, or do you have it?
No, I pulled something up that I really wanted to say, because I wanted to center the policy institutes and the centers who have done this work. Research has shown, a lot of people think like, well, it doesn't matter who teaches our students, right? But studies have shown that when students are learning from teachers that look like them, their academic performance improves, their graduation rate improves, and they're more likely to attend college. And that's from the Learning Policy Institute. Their study revealed that. And, specific to Black students, which within our district are even being pushed out, when we look at studies from Center of American Progress, Black teachers are less likely to view their Black students as disruptive or aggressive in class. And, that's not to say that, white teachers or people of color are unable to teach. That's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is that these effects, these outcomes for our students are really important, and we need to take them into consideration when we're thinking about who are we staffing, right? I think someone mentioned earlier how, I think it was Dr. Shipley in another live that mentioned that we see our paraprofessionals, our security staff look like us, but not necessarily our teachers, and that's important to know.
Thank you so much. That's really powerful. Up next, Brandon, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you good?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Representation matters, and we should do everything that we can to attract and retain a diverse staff. I did not have my first Black teacher until I was in the 7th grade, and that was actually at the middle school that Dr. Shipley was formerly the principal of at Jack Benny. I did not have another Black teacher except for a gym teacher in high school, right? So it does matter. The Grow Your Own program helps to build a bench by eliminating barriers and promoting from within the community to teach our community, right? But we do have to look at the statistics. Over 80% of teachers in the United States are white. And so you go to war with the army that you have. So as I mentioned, and I believe my response to the first question is we really have to embrace culturally competent instruction. I think Dr. Shipley has been a promoter of this, and something that we want to embrace as a district, because we're not going to overnight change the demographics in the teaching profession. But we do have to make sure that we are preparing the teachers who are in front of our students, right? But yeah, I think diversity matters, and we have to do everything we can to support it.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Up next, Edgar. Would you like me to repeat the question? You got it. Okay.
No, thanks. So I don't know if anyone's had the opportunity to drive by Oakdale on Macri. There's a big mural, and there's 4 students. That there's a basketball player, there's an astronaut, there's a doctor, and the whole initiative to that, I helped push that when I was a PTO member prior to joining the board. The whole idea behind that is to have representation and have these high-end jobs with students' faces that remind students in that school that, hey, I can achieve that, I can do that. So same goes for inside the classroom. I had my first teacher that looked like me in 3rd grade, Mr. Flores. He was from Spain. I called him Enrique Iglesias, but he changed my life, right? It was a memorable teacher because I really learned differently because I saw me and him. And, you know, same goes for my brother. He had a teacher that in fourth grade changed his life. So there is data that proves that when you are put in front of a teacher who looks like you and resembles you, how you grow up and how you think, there is improvement in test scores. So I hope we can keep pushing that and keep putting teachers that resemble our district.
Thank you so much, Edgar. And up next, last but not least, Oscar. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. Thanks. I feel that answer is a catch-22, and I'm gonna hit it real quick in a nutshell. Why is the reason why I believe it's a catch-22? One is we could have some teachers that look like us, like here in the panel right now we're doing, but what about if they're not great teachers? That's that one. So I feel like we should get people. It doesn't matter how they look, as long as they're going to do the job, and we should evaluate them. Now, answering the question you said is, I had a teacher back in high school. I'm not going to say his name, but it was a great gentleman, African-American. And for me, I liked how he teach, not just because how he looked like. He was just a great teacher. He will hear our issues and help us out with everything we did. He was really hands-on with everything. And I feel like he related to us one by one. So if we can have more teachers like him, I feel like the school, or just in general, the world, teachers would be great. So I believe it doesn't matter, because there's some teachers can look like me, you can look like anybody else, but if they're not great teachers, they're not going to impact you. So I feel like it doesn't matter how they look like, as long as they're a great influencer and they're going to impact you to do the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So for these next couple of questions, I will be switching it up just so Dr. Harleen Shipley's not the first one to go, and maybe we can give people a little bit more time, switch it up. Unless, did you really want to go? But we can switch it up so then Oscar is also the first one to go this time, and so forth. So Black and Latino students are disproportionately disciplined through expulsion or suspension in our schools. What are your thoughts on discipline in our schools? And what is your plan to ensure that safety of our students while not enforcing oppressive systems of authority? And so we will start with Oscar first, if you don't mind going ahead.
All right. I believe with the school suspension, there's a lot of things. I rather say example. If a kid's acting up, we gotta reprimand them and tell them that they're doing wrong. I don't see nothing wrong with in-school suspension, but I'm against, let's say, the school to prison pipeline. That's what I'm against. If for every action you do that's wrong, there's gonna be repercussion. So there's sometimes you need that, let's just call it a firm hand. So if you're out of line, we gotta set you back to where you're at. So I don't believe there's nothing wrong with in-school suspension. In-school suspension can help you out to say, hey, you're acting up from the class. We got to remove you because you're being a distraction to everybody else that actually wants to learn. And you know what? I believe that's what my answer is right there for you.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. So you don't support the school to prison pipeline, but you support in-school suspensions and expulsions? Is that correct? Not suspension.
In-school suspension can be different from expulsion because you're still there at the school and you can still learn. And let's say maybe there when you're in school suspension, I call it, you could get a tutor to help you out and talk to, or a counselor could talk to you like, why is this going on?
Do you know what happens in school suspension?
I haven't been in school. I was in high school in over, 12 years. So I really don't know. But I remember when I was there, when let's say I will get suspended, when I was in school suspension, I remember there was a dean there watching over you. Then it will kind of, the watch will say, you got to do your work. Well, you said that, I don't know how, has it changed? I really don't know. I can't answer that question. Is it still the same how I was back in high school?
That's fine. Thank you so much. Okay, so next up is Edgar Castellanos. Would you like me to repeat the question or are you good?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Black and Latino students are disproportionately disciplined through expulsion or suspension in our schools. What are your thoughts on discipline in our schools, and what is your plan to ensure the safety of our students while not enforcing oppressive systems of authority?
Yeah, I think expulsion is very aggressive, depending on the circumstance. I know as a board member, I've had to vote to expel a student and put that student in a different building to get the appropriate help that student needed at the time. In school suspension, I remember I had to do a couple of those in high school, and I literally just sat in a room and put my head down and did nothing. I think there's a better way to do that. There's a better way in dealing with students who are troubled, who are constantly getting in trouble. It goes back to the topic of should police officers be in the school? Are there better resources available that we could put in the building that can help students instead of immediately calling the cops? I believe that the answer is yes. So there's better alternatives. I look forward to advocating for that and implementing those solutions in our buildings.
Oh, you made it in time. So next person is Brandon. Would you like me to repeat the question, or do you got it?
No, I think I have it. So SB 100 was a step in the right direction, which really cut back on how easily students can be kicked out of the classroom and out of school. So you've seen a drastic number of a decrease in suspension and expulsion, but the disproportionality, specifically among the Black community, still exists. And so what I think is that we have to embrace a restorative justice model that is a mindset shift in the educational field. For majority of the time, it was about if there was harm caused, how can I punish the student? You know, it was based on punitive actions, whereas restorative justice calls for healing. If a crime or something hurts, justice should heal. The focus is on repairing harm that has occurred, right? It's about community and it's about relationships. So I think that is how we move forward and continue to embrace that. I think we've started in District 60, but like many things, we have to ramp it up. And we have to make sure that all our stakeholders, teachers, deans, understand what that restorative justice model looks like. Just very briefly, we received a presentation from a school that was practicing it, and I asked the question, had the student behavior changed? And the principal was honest. He said no, but our response to the behavior has changed. And I think that's what we have to do.
Thank you so much. Okay, Adriana, you are next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. This one is very near and dear to me, and I just want to preface this by saying that if you want to address this problem, you got to understand why violence or why harm occurs, right? I don't think, and I've been saying it all this time, no one wakes up trying to go to school to have a bad day and harm their classmates. I don't believe that that's accurate. And you know, this past year, and I know this advocacy had predated me even coming back home, that people had talked about, well, why have police officers in our schools to begin with? Why can't we ramp it up, like Brandon said, by fundamentally changing the staff of our schools, right? The infrastructure of our schools, and then hoping to change that culture of our schools, because I think people internalize that and the students internalize that. And I've always been an advocate of you know, intrinsically motivating students when they themselves feel like they have something to bring to the table and that they need to stand up for themselves. They don't feel defensive. They don't feel like they have nothing to lose when they act out. And that's what we have to be. That's why we have to be empathetic to what they may be struggling when they come to school.
Thank you so much, Adriana. And okay, up next is Miss Anita.
Right. Okay. And I have to tell you guys that I was the author of the doing board reprimands for students as an alternative to suspension and expulsion. And during those reprimands, we looked at more than the infraction that was done. We looked at the social and the emotional needs of the students, and they were all considered. And instead of right away wanting to throw students out or say that they've done something wrong, there was something behind the behavior. And we have to look at that before we right away just say, oh, bad kid, out of school. Okay. And so And with the safety of students, that's number one in our district, always must be, okay? But if the engagement in our classrooms are up to par, I doubt very seriously if we would have as many students with the discipline problems.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is Don Johnson. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I haven't. And one thing that I do believe is that when we speak regarding suspension and expelling a child, we have to know what's the next plan once we do it. And I don't think there's a plan. So I really think that, as Anita said, and so many others have said, we have to make sure that the students are receiving the services that they need in the schools so that they don't have to be displaced. We have had large numbers of children being displaced from outside services as well as with the IEP. And sometimes some children haven't quite matured to levels that they understand that their behaviors are not acceptable in school. We have had as small as 5 years old children being displaced. And we know that a 5-year-old is still that mother's baby, and he wants to be that baby. And sometimes when we expel them or suspend them or give them services that they don't need, have we hurt the child or have we helped them? So my concern is regarding expelling and suspending the child. Let's make sure that we give them the services that they need, programs, because I think a lot of times if students don't have programs, arts and gym and other things to rely on, they tend to react. So I believe that programs in the schools to help them to benefit from those behaviors.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, Dr. Harleen Shipley. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Brandon, you went already? Okay. No, I don't need you to repeat the question. Those of you who know me know that I don't need you to repeat. Okay. In terms of this issue, it has to be ongoing professional development for our staff so they can learn to address the issues with the students. SB 100 was a start, but we have yet as a district to implement all the recommendations that came with SB 100. It was not just about stopping the suspension and the expulsions. We recognize that there are students who are struggling. So we have to get things in place to help those students, but it's a change in mindset, as Mr. Ewing was saying. We have to realize that this is public education and students are going to come with other issues. Okay, I did a FOIA 2019-2020. And the first 26 days of school, when we looked at out of school suspension, there were 138 out of school suspensions, the first 28 days of school. These students didn't even have a chance to come into school and learn how to do school again, okay? The same way when we have the summer off and we come back, there are things that we have to work through. And just so you know, out of those 138, 70 of those were Hispanic males and Hispanic females. There were 59 Blacks. We cannot displace students like that in the first weeks of school because some never recover. Then we have ISS where we say, well, we're not going to take them out of school. We're going to just displace them by taking them out of the classroom. The first 26 days, there were 254 in-school suspension placements, 254 kids. Some of these kids will never recover. 177 of those were Hispanic males and students. No, we have to change. We have to shift how we're addressing students who may be struggling and address those issues.
Thank you so much for your response. All right, y'all. So we have a couple questions left. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all one more question for everyone to answer, and then we'll start taking in questions that have been on Facebook. So I'm getting the live feed here as well. So the last question that I will ask y'all, and we can go the same order we did right now, is why are you running for this position and what makes you uniquely qualified to represent Waukegan parents and students? And we can go with Oscar first.
Well, I bring a different image to everybody. I am a person that is out here talking to the people, and I'm not afraid, or a lot of people don't, once they get in, sometimes a lot of people say they don't want to be talked, they don't want to be bothered. For me, it's like if the people like me, it's like I'm there because the people put me there. The voters put me there. So I will be gladly to spend time. It doesn't matter if it's 1 minute, if it's an hour. I will still like to spend time with them for them to hear their concerns, because we got to hear the concerns, because they got their students in the school and they know what's going on. The students know what's going on and what the issues they're dealing with. So for me, I'm for the people. I'm not for me. I'm not representing myself. I'm representing here, this beautiful town where I was born and raised. And this is where I grew up, born, and I brought property here. I'm not willing to go nowhere. And this is for me, it's just not me. It's not for me, it's for the people. That's how I look at it. It's for the students, and for the students to become better in themselves, and then for them to willing to come back here in Waukegan.
Thank you so much for your response.
You're welcome.
So up next, we will go with Edgar Castellanos.
Thank you. I think what makes me uniquely qualified, not only because I'm a current sitting board member, but I also have a student in the district. I also bring a unique perspective to the board. This board needs fresh ideas, new energy. I think this election, from what I've been seeing, right, all of us campaigning here, is we've brought, and I hope everyone notices this, but we've brought big awareness to the youth getting involved. And that's really important moving forward for not only our district, but for the city. We need young people involved. I think that I bring that involvement. I bring that pull from the community, and I can bring.
Oh, we can no longer hear you for some reason. We cannot hear you.
Now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
What's the last thing you heard?
We can pull in the community. I can pull in the community. That's what I heard.
I want to continue to be a part of bringing in the community. We're so rich in culture. I want to continue to tie every corner of this city, every corner of this district together, and continue creating policies and pushing policies that are going to make this district great and are going to close the achievement gap. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Up next is Brandon Ewing. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think what uniquely qualifies me is, one, I've been on the board 4 years. I was elected at 25 years old. And as a father, as someone who was deeply invested in this community, I wanted to make a difference. I've had 2 years as the board president. I've been there over the decisions that have made over the last 2 years, as well as the impact that COVID has had. And so I want to be there as we welcome our students back. I believe that I have the temperament, right? Is a lot of people who come to meetings or who talk to me talk about how I am looking to bring people together. That's what what I have done over the last 4 years during my time on the board, is try to cut through some of the noise and divisiveness that often exist in our community. And also my relationships through intergovernmental agreements and cooperation, right? So I have partnerships that I'm starting with the Lake County Sheriff's Department and the State's Attorney Office, which helps to really put a dent and impact into the school to prison pipeline. And so those are some of the unique things. There are tons of things, and I'm glad to talk more, but I only have a minute, so I'll respect the time.
Thank you so much. Up next is Adriana Gonzalez.
So this question is very heavy for me because when I started campaigning, I really thought that one, I was like, no one's gonna take me seriously being like the youngest person campaigning to be part of this board. And I think my perspective is unique in the sense that I know that a lot of people in Waukegan have one foot out the door already trying to get out of this community. And the reasons that I wanted to come back and help out is because I knew we have so much more untapped resources and potential that we could actually augment if we all work together. And I think, speaking to some of the divisiveness that we've experienced, and the culture that we have here, is that we operate in silos. No one seems to want to work together, or they feel like they got to take more on than what is healthy. And I feel like, a lot of this has been about, being imperfect, doing research, learning on the go, and adapting, because I know that students just like me want to get into the game and learn the ropes. And we do have capacity to actually be in these positions and make inclusive policy happen.
Thank you so much. Up next is Ms. Anita Hanna.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Why am I rerunning for the board? And my uniqueness, I will say that my experience, my longevity, and experience as a board member, and understanding what it means to govern a $2 million plus dollar budget, and to make sure that that things are working properly, but more importantly, with the young people getting involved, to bring to them my experience, my knowledge, my wisdom in governing, so that when I am not there, they will understand what it truly means to be consistent, to be trustworthy, to have truth in governance, and to understand that it is not a plaything, that we are literally directing the lives of many people, of 14, 15,000 children, to become great adults. And it's not just a stepping stone for a higher political aspiration.
Thank you so much. So up next is Ms. Dawn Johnson.
I would like to be elected to the board April 6th. And the reason why, because I would like to continue. I have been advocating with families that have children with disabilities. I raised 2 children with disabilities. And I think that when we bring the parents in and they have someone that they can talk to, someone that they can be able to build that trust, as Miss Anita said, then we can make sure that the child is feeling comfortable. So what I like to do is be at the table to make those decisions, to be at the table and put the effective policies. We have to make sure that our community know these policies and be able to grow with them within their education. If we don't have effective curriculum that reflects the community or policies, what do? So I would like to be that person to sit at the table, be able to be transparent and go back in the community and tell the parent, hey, they're listening to you, they understand. So I would like to be more involved, be that person to sit at the table, make decisions, increase policies, and improve engagement from the community so we all can be a part of the team.
Thank you so much. Okay, and up last is Harleen Shipley, Dr. Harleen Shipley.
Okay. I'm running for the school board because I think that I have a skill set that can help and support the students who are in our district and provide opportunities for them to learn, to excel. I think new energy is great. I think we have to collaborate with the youth. They bring a lot to the table, but I think there's something to be said also about mentoring someone and talking through things and talking about what has transpired and what has worked, what hasn't, what needs to be tried again, what needs to be revisited. I think there's something to be said about that. A lot of my former students have asked me to run for the board. You would probably be surprised how many former students and families I still talk to and mentor. So you can be of age, you can be seasoned, and you can still have a passion for the work that needs to be done. So that's why I'm running for the Board of Education.
Great, thank you so much. All right, y'all, we will be going on and asking questions that we gather from the community, both through our survey and also through Facebook Live right now. And if possible, please keep these answers to 30 seconds, a little shorter, so then we can like get through as many questions as possible. I understand that maybe everyone would want to answer all these questions just for the sake of time. I guess like whoever wants to answer the question can answer the question, but there are going to be multiple questions that might apply to different skills and assets that y'all feel you can contribute. So one of the questions that we received from the survey is that there was a study conducted by the American Immigration Council that estimates that immigrants in the state of Illinois pay $7.7 billion in state and local taxes in Illinois. Yet not all immigrants are permitted to vote in local elections, such as the school board. What will you do to ensure that all parents are provided avenues to have their voices heard when it comes to issues related to the district? So anyone can feel free to answer this question. Just keep it very short though. Yes, go ahead.
If they're in the district, they automatically have a voice. And I have always encouraged parents to come and attend school board meetings. That is the thing that they need to do. Come to the meetings and let their concerns be heard.
Thank you. Would anyone else want to answer that question?
I'd like to answer that question also, if I can. This is Dawn Johnson. I think that I would like to see more involvement. So if parents do have questions, then I believe that they'll be able to interact throughout the schools. Maybe they can have these questions be answered right in their school. So some families can feel comfortable right there in their school and having these questions and concerns being answered right there in their school placement.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to answer that question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add just one short thing. There's actually other cities throughout the US that have allowed undocumented immigrants, specifically a vote in their school board elections. San Francisco implemented that. I think the limit is up next year for allowing them to vote. And I think that's something that districts like ourselves should be looking at, alternatives to helping them. Again, yes, they have a voice, but to actually solidify that voice with a vote as well.
Thank you so much, Adriana. Would anyone else want to answer that question, or we can go ahead and move forward with some of the other questions that we have? Yes, Edgar.
Yeah, can I just add, if someone out there feels or knows that they can vote legally, right? One of the many things you can do is show up to these board meetings, voice your concerns, rally people together, push your initiatives, push what you want to see change. And you have a body of board members listening that you put in these seats to do that just for you. So don't feel that that's the only avenue you can make a change. You can speak up. Your voice is so powerful.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to give your answer? If not, we can go ahead and go with the questions that we also have on Facebook. So one of the questions is, do candidates support bringing the College Studies Program, CSP, back to Waukegan High School? If anyone wants to go ahead and go.
Miss Hannah, you're
Yes.
muted.
Oh,
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. I was very dissatisfied when the CSP program was dismantled. And we had even expanded the program where we were adding even more students in it. And so, yes, the CSP program was very beneficial, and it needs to be put back in the schools.
Thank you so much.
This is not a popular opinion. This is not a popular opinion. And as Adriana has told me often, it's a hot take. But my hot take is that no, we don't need to bring CSP back. As someone who was a part of CSP, and the way that we approached it when I was in school, it forced students to what I said, be great at everything, right? So you had someone like me who received a 32 in the reading portion of the ACT, but was only at a 17 on the math portion, and there wasn't an option for me to step down. So I graduated pre-calc, but couldn't even pass my admittance into the CLC college course, right? When I went to college in Lake County. So I think we need to look at avenues that allow our students to take accelerated courses, but I don't think that we should have some set aside program that was only limited to some individuals.
Yeah, and on nuance, if I can add. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Shipley. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead, baby.
I just wanted to nuance that with what Brandon said, because and Andrea and I were in the same classes, so you know, CSP was really toxic. I think a lot, the only reason I met other students was because I was in art and I was in ROTC, JROTC. And a lot of other students in other houses felt like they weren't going to be college ready, or that they weren't taking rigorous courses. And that dynamic was really, really, it hindered a lot of students because they were capable of taking honors and AP classes, but they weren't selected to go to those courses. So I don't think we should bring it back because of that. But I think there is something that we could have taken from those small learning community models. I think it was really effective having, a couple hundred students be tracked by specific teachers. And it's just, for population, like ours, it's really important to be able to build those connections and relationships with the staff and teachers. So I think there's some hybridity that we can look into bringing back.
Thank you so much, Adriana. And Dr. Shipley?
Ditto. I was going to say that I think there's something to be said about having more honors and AP classes. I think that you find people who may be gifted in one thing, or they can excel in one thing and not in something else. And I think you'll find more equity if you have programming which allows students to have classes geared toward their strength and not necessarily a program. So
thank you so much.
And let me, Ms. Flores, let me say something. And the college studies program was a part of the house concept, okay, in our high schools. And the house concept was an excellent concept in our schools, okay? And with CSP being that, okay, I'm hearing what you all are saying about CSP and it being toxic. I didn't know that, okay, and thank you for saying that. But the house concept was excellent because it was geared and tailored to the students that were there. And so that's what that's what I would say needs to return.
Thank you so much.
Can I say something?
Yes, Ms. Johnson.
And it'll be very short.
No worries.
I was a parent that had a daughter that completed the college course program. And it was very much hard, but it challenged her. I think that it could be revamped into a different program that other students can get involved, and that one student that might be 1 point away from going into that class can get in there, and they can give that support to help them when they go on to college, because she was able to go on to college and she was able to experience. Now, Brandon is right. She went off to Kentucky, and there were some areas that she did struggle with, but that just gave her the initiative to keep going. So I do think that some of these programs that has been taken from the district should be able to return back, and that may improve some of the low test scores or give higher expectations for students to work towards.
Great. Thank you so much. So for the sake of time, just making sure that moving forward, answer very quickly. I love to talk as well, but just to make sure we get all of this. We are at the 7:29 mark, so we are 1 minute away from the technical end. If people did want to hop off, I completely understand. If people want to stay on, I'm gonna stay on, and feel free to hop off if you need to go about your day. I was gonna maybe ask like 2 more questions, if that's okay with folks. Is that okay? Feel free, no shame at all if y'all need to hop off. Okay. So, and if you do so, you don't have to announce it. You can just hop off, that's fine. So one of the questions is, I've seen frontline teachers, counselors, bilingual teachers advocate for years on what these students need. How will you as a board member, help push an agenda this agenda faster for these students?
I want to take that as a board member, just real quick. People have heard me say it, and it's one of the things I've learned in the last 4 years is that the budget is a moral document. And so what I plan to do if reelected is be really aggressive in how we look at our budget in the upcoming months in order to achieve some of this equity work and put money where our mouth is, because the things that you fund are the things that you believe in.
Thank you so much, Brendan. Would anyone else want to answer that question?
I'm going to say the exact same thing, that that more money needs to be filtering down into classrooms and into programs that directly affect the education of the students. And I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it. Even though people, you go off to college, we got students going off to college, but they end up, 72% of our students end up having to take remedial classes. That's because of their reading levels. And we must invest in more rigorous reading and getting our students reading on grade level.
Thank you so much. So the final question is, what are you each going to do to decrease the dropout rates? And I guess I would like to phrase this less as dropout rates, that puts the responsibility on the student. What are you going to make sure that you're going to do to decrease the push out rate? Because I think schools have a lot to do with pushing students out. Yeah, free for all for anyone to answer. And yeah. Anyone?
I'll go. I think as it relates to that specifically, I think we could be creative in the ways that we approach that. I would love to see more mentorship opportunities, and more, honestly, opportunities for us as alumni to engage with current students, because I think, there's several factors that contribute to our dropout rate. But I think at the end of the day, there's the sentiment among students that maybe they're not, again, encountering people who look like them, who relate to their experiences, who can show them years down the road, even, we're not that far along on our path, but who can tell them that they get over this hump and that they can make it to this moment, right?
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to say, sorry to hog, but I'm going to say I'm going to hold the administration accountable for students that you say are being pushed out. Okay, who tells a student that they can leave school? Okay, so holding the administration accountable and all those people that want to push students through. Look, we have to make sure that administration is on top of all of that through the data, and we got to hold the administration accountable.
And I think we also have to hold the board accountable as it relates to policy. When you
Absolutely.
look at the Illinois School Code, there are countless statutes that talk about truancy, push out, dropout. The I-HOPE program is for re-entering dropouts. We have none of those programs in our district. And if we have little smidgets of it, it's not to the extent it needs to be. So we need to hold the board accountable with that document that is from the state that says if you're doing these things here, then you should be meeting the needs of your students. So right. With that becomes the, of course, as Ms. Hannah was saying, then of course, you're holding your administration to the vision that the board has set.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else want to answer that question?
Just very briefly, in that you want to do the things that we're talking about doing, is you have to, I think, start with improving the core. I think our promotion policy was a step in the right direction, right? And that was ensuring that we weren't just passing students on through social promotion, but actually making sure that they were meeting their standards. And then making sure that we don't lose track of students, right? I think that is something that was beneficial about the House model that we've lost in our new model, which was done to increase the graduation rate. At least that's what the board was told, right? Is you wanted to focus on the freshmen so that you would shore up some of those issues that were impacting the graduation rate. So I think if you build a strong core, you start to see that number dip. And then you have to make sure that you don't let any students fall through the cracks.
Thank you all so much. Is there anything that anyone wanted to say before I pass it off to Carla?
Me, I got
Yes.
one. After school programs. There's a lot of kids that want to be, for them to get involved in the school and have after school programs, activities, so they could be involved in the school. And that maybe also can help out for them being dropped out. I know a lot of kids probably just drop out because they have nothing else to do. They just look like, I only want to get a job. So if we can have something after school programs to help them out and keep their mind occupied and keep them involved in the school, maybe that will help them out.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone else before I hand it off? Great, thank you all so much on my behalf. Before I hand it off to Carla to give the final closing announcements, I appreciate everyone's patience with me. I know Zoom can be very difficult to handle. So yes, thank you all so much. And Carla, you can go ahead and give closing thoughts.
Thank you. There was one more question that came in that I think is important as it deals with immigration. And of course, as Latino Coalition, I think it's important that we also ask this. So I know we keep saying one last question, but I think I can promise that this is the last one. It is a little bit of a long one, so please let me know if you need me to repeat it. In 2018, the board passed the Safe Haven Resolution, which pushed by community activists. This resolution reaffirmed the district's commitment to support undocumented families and students. While the resolution helped bring awareness to the issues immigrant families were facing, it failed to bring concrete policies and resources to support families. Following that resolution, we continued to see more harmful federal policies that deported families, incited fear in the community, and kept many immigrant youth from applying for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA. If you are reelected or elected, for some of you that are seeking first election, will you commit to ensuring all staff and faculty are trained on knowing what to do should ICE be present on school grounds, the type of protections that are needed when it comes to private information, and will you commit to working alongside advocates to ensure students are providing the linguistically and culturally relevant resources they need to pursue their academic goals? And then, of course, not just a yes or no, but a very brief response as to how you will be doing this.
Yeah, I wanted to very quickly add because I also have to leave. And I think, I don't know who wrote that comment, but I think of Katia Carranza and her husband who helped push that to the board and bring it up as a policy issue. You know, throughout my college years and in the past couple of years that I've been back in Waukegan, I've helped with immigration advocacy because it's an issue dear to my heart. I've helped with immigration clinics. And I think it's absolutely important that we inform more families that we're abiding by those resolutions that we had set a year or two prior to ensure that all students are safe regardless of their immigrant status. And one thing that I think is so crucial is for our counselors to know resources available for undocumented students and for our websites to reflect that. Which scholarships are we making available? Which university and colleges are we establishing partnerships with? And do we know their policies for accepting undocumented students? I think those are all things that we need to have our staff be prepared for because the physical and future safety of our students is really important. And I think all of our community is affected with this because the reality is more people from different countries are immigrating to the States for a better life, and it's only going to continue increasing. And I want to make it clear, this is not just for Latino people. Africans and Asian people are increasingly coming to the United States because of the situation in their home countries that honestly we are contributing to. And I want our community to understand that this intersects with a lot of our communities and we have the same concerns. But that's it for me. Thank you. Bye.
And yes,
thank you so much, Adriana.
I want to say that I will, if elected to the board, I will commit and support. But I think that this should actually be a person who is hired by the district. I think it's okay to have the training and people who are doing their everyday jobs to be knowledgeable. But this issue is important enough that we should be contracting someone out from our own community to be the liaison with the district to address these issues ongoing, not sporadically, not as a reaction to something that happens. This is an important enough issue. I'm just saying that as it relates to, you know, people coming from not just Latin America and not just coming from Mexico, but from coming other parts of the world. Thank you.
Yes, and I remember the safe haven resolution that we passed on the school board. And I also would like to ensure everyone that we currently have a policy surrounding information. And the information is just not given to anybody that comes in and asks for it. That we can't do that because we're in education, as well as because we deal with minors, so we can't do that. But if I am reelected to the board, I will continue to advocate for doing the right things in terms of our Latino people, our people coming from other countries, and making sure that the school district does the right thing for them.
Thank you. I would like to add that if appointed for the next 4 years, I would advocate to train staff to know what to do if ICE presents themselves at school grounds. I think it's important. We, like I mentioned earlier, we do live in a community that's very diverse. Not only do we need training for staff members, but we also need someone appointed to delegate and streamline these kinds of scenarios and make sure that everyone is helped and everyone is heard, because we do not want to get in a situation where someone doesn't feel welcomed. Waukegan School District 60 is diverse. We welcome everyone. We are one of the most diverse school districts in the country. So we should very, very much cater to everyone in the community.
And I do agree with Dr. Shipley that we have people right here in Waukegan that would be able to take on a position like that in our district and do it very well. And so I would advocate for that as well. I mean, look, we have Miss Adriana Flores, we have Carla Gutierrez, we have Melina Hernandez. I mean, we have people right here that can do those things, and you know, and so I'm a big advocate for that.